Don't.
Welcome to MBNews, where we spotlight innovative voices in the alternative healthcare space to inspire the future of wellness. My name is Emilia Lujan. I am your host, and I'm the founder of MindfulBody Productions. And in this episode, we are diving into a conversation that's both timely and deeply personal for many in the health field: stress management. Our guest today is Mason Farmani, an intuitive coach and former CEO who now works with high-performing professionals to break through emotional ceilings and lead with intention. His work combines neuroscience, trauma-informed healing, and heart-based leadership. So if you're a professional in the health field feeling the weight of constant pressure, this one is for you. Without further ado, I'd love to introduce and welcome Mason Farmani. Hello, Mason. Welcome to MBNews. Mason, my first question to you is, in your experience, why do so many successful professionals feel unfulfilled or even disconnected, even if it looks like they have it all?
That's a great question. I've over the years, I've worked with a lot of leaders, a lot of CEOs, a lot of psychiatrists who you think that they'll have it all figured out, right? Because they'll advise people all day long on how they should be. And one of the reasons why I believe is that what I've seen is that a lot of people are disconnected from their purpose. So, they either have fallen into what it is they're doing as a result of a default. Something has, it's fallen in front of them. They went to school to become something, and they've just taken that route and gotten to where they are today. And some of them could be that they are in their purpose, but they're disconnected from the purpose. They don't wake up and feel like they are contributing to their North Star. So they're doing what it is that they think they should be doing, but they're not deeply feeling satisfied in what it is they're doing. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking specifically on the topic of stress, because there are so many high-performing health professionals that are probably watching this video today. And even I experience a sense of burnout, for example. So what would you say are some common triggers that high-paced professionals go through that throw them into this heightened sense of stress?
Yeah, yes. Great question. One of the things I've seen, again, in my practice in dealing with these high performing people, is that a lot of times they take on other people's issues as their own. So, for example, if it's a psychiatrist or psychologist who's dealing with suicidal patients. At the end of the day, a lot of those feelings that they deal with during the day, they don't have a container for their own emotions. So they actually take on whatever it is that they're feeling, that their clients are feeling, they take that on as if it's their own. That's one of the reasons why I've seen. Two is that they don't have their own outlets. When you are in these environments and you're working with, whether you're a physician or you're a psychiatrist, psychologist, coach, whenever you're dealing with all the people's issues, you should really have your own outlet and be able to go to someone who can help you as you help others. Or a coach, someone that, can help you get through some of your own stuff. The third thing that I see all the time is, especially post-pandemic, there's more burnout we see than we used to. And it's because people are putting many hours in without going and, for example, connecting to the nature or connecting to their purpose or, taking care of themselves, self-care, self-love.
I got that. And certainly, I mean, a lot of health professionals are in this business because they want to help people. And I know you talk a lot about like heart centered leadership and identifying unprocessed traumas. So, how do you think that not going about this and going about their work and their leadership in a heart-centered way or facing their traumas, how does that impact a high performer's stress levels, and how can we maybe mitigate that stress by looking inward and resolving these things? Mm, mm,
Yeah. So, in my practice, like as you said, I work with people in getting them connected to their heart, which briefly, what that means is that, we're born and we're connected to ourselves and our heart. And then as we grow up, there's certain things that happen, whether you want to call it programming or you want to call it defense mechanisms. Each one of these layers takes us away from our own heart and ourselves. So if we're able to uh, step back and peel the layers of the onion to get to the nucleus of us, which is our heart, then we're able to connect to who we really are and connect to our purpose and what we really, really want to do. So I work with a lot of people just really figuring out where the programmings are that are not contributing to you. And as a result, each one that you resolve, that you process, then it brings you back to you. Now, one of the things that I usually discover is that as we look to connect to ourselves, it points to some traumas that has happened in our lives. And, shamans believe that trauma is our teacher and is a necessary part of life. It's not a curse. It's an awakening of something. That if we continue living our life the way we've always lived without those traumas, then we're always in our comfort zone. We're always feeling like there is no awakening, there's no progress in life. So if you allow the traumas to get processed, then they should become our teacher. If
mhm.
you allow them to become your teacher, if it then generates something in your body and it becomes a part of you, then it becomes wisdom.
I
It
definitely agree with that. And certainly looking at it as an opportunity to really explore ourselves and reach the next level because I see facing traumas, facing fears that someone has hit their safe self-made glass ceiling and maybe emotionally and professionally they might be feeling like they're stuck and they need to break through it to reach the next level. How would you advise somebody to go about that that's looking to really grow?
it Yeah. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth because that's what I always say, the self-made glass ceilings, right? Because nobody made those, you made them. Yes, there is something that happened in your environment that has caused you to create this glass ceiling, but the glass ceiling is there for you to break through it, right? So, uh, one of the things that I help people is that those self-made glass ceilings are usually point to a point of trauma. Something has happened where you have this self-limiting thought that keeps you from excelling through and breaking through. And one of the techniques that I can share with your audience is that the first thing you got to do is you got to become aware that there is one at place, that you were not born this way, that you were not you didn't come to this world thinking that this is my limit, whatever your self-limiting thought is. I'm not good enough, I don't know, to become a billionaire. I'm not good enough to be productive in what I do to the limit that beyond the limit that I've already placed for myself. Whatever that self-limiting thought is, you first have to become aware of it and really understand and come to the conclusion that it does not contribute to you.
Mm.
If you can't get to that first step, the rest of it is not going to work. It's just technique that you just continue to manage something, but you just keep falling back to where you were before. But if you're able to get to that point, and then whenever you feel it come up, acknowledge that it's at work. Not get in argument with it, like not become judgmental about it, right? Like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing that again. How could I? The more you get engaged with it, the more power it has over you. So if you just become aware and not non-judgmentally acknowledge it every time it comes up without going through the process of getting help or whatever, it's one way to kind of get through that. But the most effective way, obviously, is to go process that, whatever self-limiting thought it's.
I love that. And that makes sense. And being in the transformational space and going through my own transformation, it seems like that's part of the awakening journey where first and foremost, you start creating awareness where they might be taken away by so many tasks and so many stressors.
Yeah. So a very basic technique would be to really try to reconnect to your heart, right? And try to actually create from your heart versus your brain. And a very simple technique is when you first wake up in the morning, put your hand on your heart and speak to your heart. Just try to connect to your heart and this beautiful machinery that has been working for you all your life without instructions, without interruptions. And it's also the window to other possibilities. And, it's something I do every morning. And then what I do is I think of 5 things I'm grateful for. And studies have shown that when you show gratitude for what it is you have, you'll have more of it in your life. So if and the next step that is very helpful is to create coherence between your heart and your brain, so that you tap into the power of both in order to create your life.
Certainly. And I'm sure, being in a space where someone is consistently busy, sometimes professionals wake up in the morning and the first thing they do is they check their phone. I understand that can certainly be a challenge. So when time is tight and stress is constant, how do you specifically help your clients shift from being reactive to responsive so that the nervous system can shift from being consistently in fight or flight to that rest and digest?
Yeah. Well, I call that emotional intelligence, right? There's that word keeps getting thrown around these days. And I think that emotionally intelligent people are the people where they recognize when they're triggered. Right. Yeah. And when you're triggered, then you are in a state of imbalance. And if you're not aware, you're going to react versus actually just taking a step back, taking a deep breath, and figuring out if I'm engaged, which is I'm triggered, there's an emotion in me that has come to the surface that has me. I gotta have that emotion. You shift, right, from being controlled by that trigger by taking a deep breath. And that, so I always say the point of the distance between a reaction and an action is one breath.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can take a deep breath and it's like, okay, I'm engaged, I'm triggered, and I'm not going to react from this state. And if you have to delay your whatever you have to react to, or create a distance, like walk away if you have to, and come back, and sometimes even acknowledging it that, I'm triggered by this, and I need a moment to come back and have the rest of the discussion.
Yeah, certainly that's such a powerful tip and very powerful way to go about triggers, because triggers don't stop coming, but we get better at responding to those triggers and observing ourselves. So, just working that muscle is what I hear you saying, right?
Yeah. And triggers are all pointing to traumas, whether it's a big T trauma or a small T trauma, right? They're all traumas.
I love that. So it's like a clue. So almost it's like you have a trigger, something comes up, it's a clue to look at maybe a trauma that's there, that's lingering, that needs attention, and the moment that it gets resolved, that pressure is relieved and you feel alleviated. Is that kind of what you've observed through your work?
Yeah. So whenever you're able to look at that, right? Whenever you look at a trigger, then it's coming from the subconscious to the conscious, right? So, our frontal cortex, 17, 18% is our consciousness. The rest of the brain is subconscious. It all happens automatically. So now by looking at a trigger, it actually comes from here to the conscious. And once it's in the conscious, guess what? You are now in charge. It's not the trigger that is in charge. And the more you get into that practice, the less the triggers have control over you, and the more you're being free-willed person.
Mm. Yeah, certainly. So from what I hear you saying, and just from my own journey, it's a process. It's literally a journey. And I find that myself being an entrepreneur and a high performer and also working with other entrepreneurs, that a really big source of burnout is the way that we define success.
Yeah. So you first need to really reevaluate success, right? And once you're able to reevaluate the concept of success, then you're able to actually figure out what is it that I need to do in order to get to that success, right? We have such perceived notion, and especially with social media and everything else that we hear around us, like these days at age 16, if you have not made your first million, everybody's thinking that you're not going to make it for the rest of your life, right? So there's such an incredible pressure, and it's all about, most of it points to money, right? So if you're able to really participate in a reconstruction of your own narrative about success, right? Just look at it, even if it's money. Okay, so what is it that I want to do with money? And is it going to bring me happiness ultimately or not? And if not, is what I am doing actually contributing to the greatest good of the earth, universe, people, whatever it is, right? And it doesn't have to be this big whoopla thing that everybody's looking for. Like, I don't have to be Musk. I don't have to be Branson. I can have a small purpose, and it should be completely fine for me. So if you're able to really, again, connect your success to your purpose versus accomplishing dollar amounts, I've seen a lot of people live a happier life. I had a session earlier today with someone who was uh, working on skin products, And I was like, okay, so what is it that you want to achieve? It was like, well, I want women between the age of this and this to feel content and confident. It's like, okay, so now we're replacing making a bunch of money, become a millionaire out of a skin product with a feeling that I want to create for certain age women. And it's like, okay, now I have a North Star. Every morning I can wake up and feel happy that I'm contributing to women. And
That sounds like a much more fulfilling approach.
embodying that, where you actually, you said the perfect word, embodying that. That means whatever it is that you're going to feel, rather than waiting for it to come, you actually feel it now. And then that's the formula for manifestation. Then you get into gratitude for having felt it already. And it is the gratitude that seals the deal. And so if you're able to feel what it is that I want to feel once I get there, and I'm so grateful for having reached that already, then you're now actually in vibration to what it is that you want to create.
Yeah, certainly. I love that. And the journey to getting there, it really does take that reflection and really embracing authenticity and vulnerability. So, how would you say that these two words, authenticity and vulnerability, first and foremost, if you can give us an example of how to define that and then share how this will improve the performance and leadership in high stress environments?
And yeah, so there's a lot of studies done on vulnerability, right? And a lot of people think that vulnerability is a sign of weakness, while really vulnerability is a sign of courage. And there's also a lot of studies that show that if you're not being vulnerable, you're too attached to the results. That means I'll explain that. So if I'm not willing to fail, and right, that means no matter what, I want to get to where I want to get to, and there's no room for failure. And whenever there's no room for failure, that means you're in so much control in where you want to get, that you never enjoy the journey. You constantly have your mind at the end result, right? And if you can't enjoy the journey, once you get to it, then that's not even satisfying anymore, because you can't stop to enjoy what you got, because the whole journey had you going for the end result, right? So now let's pair that with what it means to be authentic. To be authentic means that you are true to the purpose of what it is that you're working on, but you're also true to yourself, right? So along the way, you recognize everything with authenticity while you're being vulnerable. That, okay, I have made a mistake in here, now I've learned from it, now I'm moving forward. If you're not vulnerable, then you feel like you're immune to failure and you're immune to making mistakes, and you can never learn anything. You're constantly in charge and in control, which means you're really not enjoying any of it anyways. If you're not
Very valuable, Mason. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that is a huge obstacle that a lot of us face because we want to reach the sense of perfection. Like being a high performer, a lot of us, and myself included, I call myself a perfectionist in recovery because it's about reaching this self created perfection that doesn't really exist. And throughout that journey, it's really challenging to reflect and be vulnerable and be authentic with yourself so that you could continuously grow. So, one thing that's really helped me is just understanding that the more vulnerable and the more authentic that I can become, the quicker I can grow throughout this journey and really enjoying the process. I call it receiving blessings in disguise when these triggers come up and these traumas come up. Every single entrepreneur, healthcare, high performer out there really needs to embody this and practice these tools really. So do you have any final thoughts or piece of advice that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Sure. I mean, it's my biggest message in what I do is that, there's a lot of studies that show that we're all programs, right? We're a bunch of programs that most of them is as a result of failures and as a result of traumas, right? Like something terrible happens to our life. And then from that point on, we decide that I will never, I don't know, have gluten again, or I will never have, success again, or any of that, right? So they're just programs that keep showing up in our lives, and it takes our free will away. So we're no longer in charge of our life every day. It's all these programmings that are happening. And whether we have programming in social settings, we have programs in political settings, in religious settings, in all different areas. So I always encourage people to just be aware of where it is that you have free will versus you have programming that are running. And if you become aware of them, like we were talking about earlier, just become present every time it's at play. And then see if you can replace that with free will. It's like, how do I really want to feel about this? How do I really want to act in light of what is happening? And I think that, if we're able to create free will, instead of reactions, we'll have a better life.
That's awesome, Mason. This has been fantastic, and thank you so much for sharing your insights and your heart.